So we all spend a great deal of our times trying to get rid of the anxiety and the nerves that we feel on a day-to-day basis. And the bitter irony with our quest to find peace is that oftentimes the thing that brings us the least peace and puts us in the greatest state of anxiety is our desire to get rid of our anxiety. At times where uncertainty and discomfort have been prevalent in my world, the thing that has made me suffer the most has been my inherent desire to alleviate myself of any uncertainty. If you are constantly striving to find answers about your future, to rectify issues from your past, and just generally to create some form of certainty in your world, then you're likely going to cause yourself exactly the suffering that you're aiming to avoid. There are times in our lives where it's simply impossible for us to do anything but endure a period of time. We have to go through stages in our world in which we are not yet the person who might have the answers for the issues that we are currently being faced with. In order to get over certain difficulties and problems in my head, I've had to go through a period of time in which I've become the person who can deal with those issues. It's important that we don't inhibit our ability to actually progress in our lives by presuming that we have to have the answers to every issue and every question right now. Almost always, for anything you're suffering with or anything you're working through, the answer's not going to come today. There's going to be a inherent desire within you to do something in order to try and get to the end of your problems now, because we have such a understandable difficulty to face our suffering and to deal with the discomfort that comes from uncertainty. Uncertainty is fucking horrible. It is the leading nefarious element in any form of difficulty. And it's understandable that with that known, we are as adamant as we are to work past uncertainty as quickly as we can. But that's not how life works. And we can't always have things come on our time and our schedule. And most of the time, we can't have it our way. We have to endure the way that life has set things out. And a useful parameter of which I have held myself to on that is to not try and solve your entire life and all of your concerns today. If you try and figure out your whole life now and you try and get to the resolution for everything you're dealing with now, you will put yourself in exactly the anxiety that you're trying to get away from. Certainty is often not an opportunity that we have. And when we try desperately to find it, we just experience the friction of what it is that we don't have. We are mistaken in believing we can predict what's going to happen in our lives. And oftentimes we are going to find ourselves in positions of which we never realized we would be in and that we don't have the answers for. There is an obligation of ours at some points in our lives to endure portions of time in which we are just growing so that we can come up with answers and so that we can get through the uncertainty that we're currently experiencing. The person I am today is not the same person as who was here 6 months ago. And the person who was dealing with issues 6 months ago couldn't deal with the problems that I now have the capacity to deal with. That distinction between those two characters only happened because time passed. And I went through certain things and I wouldn't even say patient in that respect because I wasn't terribly patient. I was doing this yearning for certainty, but I was also doing what it is that I think is the most important thing to do when you find yourself in these positions of wanting clarity when you don't have it. And that is, to use a jiu-jitsu terminology, to find a better position. You don't have to find the exact answer and the oracle that will solve all of your qualms now. But there are certain things that you can do which will make you more likely to move in the right direction. And as I said before, you might not necessarily be able to find your answer yet. You might have to stack days on days on days of doing smaller things that progress you in the direction of the character who can deal with the uncertainty you're currently struggling with. No matter what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, it's always going to be to your benefit to do something that stacks up and something that brings you towards developing your character. Self-improvement for a long time for me has been too focused on the more glossy elements of improving yourself. It's about financial prosperity, it's about physical impression, it's about the general progress of the exterior. Doing good things for yourself is useful because it means in times like this, maybe for you, certainly for me, and for most people at most times, you will have more armor and more equipment to face issues that would otherwise hurt you a lot more than they might do if you come to that prepared. Trying to accelerate the process of grief or accelerate the process of anger or confusion or whatever doesn't work. And that's why it's important to do certain things that are useful in making you feel better and be more capable of getting through the days in order to move towards where you need to be. But you can't just move past certain periods in your life. And this is something anxiety compels us to try and do, is find a solution now. And oftentimes you can't. There are times in your life where you're going to have to face difficulty and you're going to have to face uncertainty that you cannot get through now. You just have to be there to experience. And in those moments and during that time, the only thing you can do is be willing to just stack up small positive behaviors and habits that will help you get through that time. And then just be willing to endure life. And it's important to keep in mind all the while you are going through those days where life can feel very, very uncomfortable, even torturous at times, that you as a character are not in a period of stagnation there. Even at the times when you feel you are making no progress because you are bogged down by life's adversity and life's challenges, there's something going on in the background that is very progressive and useful. And that is this subtle armoring each day of getting more and more familiar with your anxiety and with whatever pain you are experiencing. Don't fall into the trap of feeling as though just because life is not going well now, that you are not making progress. Because oftentimes, the most significant progress you'll ever make comes at the times when you don't realize that you're making it. See you in a bit.